You're watching Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
We're back with Linda Lavin, who, by the way, is currently starring in the Red Barn Studio Theater production of Driving Miss Daisy. It's a don't miss, and we're going to tell you how to get tickets before we go off today, so stay with us. How were you first noticed in New York? How'd you get your job?
I did some little off-Broadway reviews, musicals, and I did some club work in the Village, all clubs that had the name Downstairs in them, all underground clubs. And I got into a little review, and Hal Prince sent a telegram to this little review and said, come audition for a show. And I went with a friend of mine, and we auditioned, and I didn't get the part, and she did. But Hal remembered me, and I got into my first Broadway musical in the chorus. It was called A Family Affair, and Hal was called in to be the director in Philadelphia. And his next show was It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman, and he hired me to be in that show, and you know that
Well,
show.
I was telling Linda that I have the 33 and a third album, and I saw her on Broadway in this. And the cut of You've Got Possibilities, which was a big song in that show,
Yes.
it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't play. It's just worn out.
That's so flattering. Thank you so much. I've never heard
And
that.
Hal Prince. Now, Hal Prince, if you don't know, is like a legendary Broadway producer and director.
Yes.
From shows like Pajama Game, West Side Story, Cabaret, Sweeney Todd, Evita, Phantom. I mean, this guy is like a Broadway legend. Were you intimidated?
Oh, no, I had a big crush on him. I was
did?
totally in love with him. He was wonderful to me. He's a force of nature, you know. His energy rivals anything you've ever seen anywhere, in any field of life.
And you've stayed in contact with him?
Oh, yes, we're very good friends. He and his wife have taken me and Steve, my husband, on trips. We travel together, and I adore him. He's a mentor and a great guy
his picture's up
to
at the
me.
theater.
His picture is up at the theater.
Yeah.
Steve did a portrait of him. Yeah.
So how did the Alice opportunity come?
Well, the Alice opportunity came in the 70s when the bottom dropped out of New York, as it is doing again. And, you know, financially, and the theater died. So much happened that was there was a torpor. And we all started looking, those of us in the New York theater, we started looking westward for work. And nobody really wanted to go to California to be in television because you weren't taken seriously in those days if you did television. But one had to make a living, and so one was looking for making a living. I went out there, and it took me 9 months of looking for an agent, looking for a job, to get a tiny part in a pilot. And I got this part, and I couldn't wait to do it and hoped that it wouldn't go on the air because it was not a good show. It was just a good little part. And at the end of the shooting of that pilot, which is the first episode of a possible series, the head of Warner Brothers came to me and said, we'd like to sign you for a series of your own. And I thought he was kidding.
And that's how it happened?
Because it had taken me so long to get a job in that town. That's how it happened. And 2 years later, they sent me the script of Alice, based on the movie Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Which had a 9-year run.
It had a 9-year run.
That's astounding by any measure.
By any measure.
Talking off camera that today some shows don't get three airings.
No, they should, we said too, because most of them aren't. And people come up to me and say, boy, they just don't do shows like that anymore. Alice was a wonderful show. It spoke to a lot of people, and it really politicized me in terms of
We're going to explore some of that too, because you really became a symbol for the emerging American woman, but
I had nothing to do with it. It was the identification of that character.
You played her.
Yeah,
you won a Golden Globe.
Yes, I won 2.
For Best Actress?
Yes, I won 1, and then the next year I won another. I won 2 in a row.
2 in a row.
That was amazing to me. The 3rd year I didn't win it.
We have a clip of
So
you
I never went back again.
accepting. I don't know if it's your first or second year.
Oh, I'll tell you when I see it. I know what I was wearing.
Let's take a look.
And the winner is, thank you.
Yes.
Linda Lavin.
Truly I love this night. This is a wonderful night. It's the only night when the film and the television communities get together, and I love that about it. I love being able to see John Voight. And Bob Benton and people of my beginnings is what I meant by that. And what's thrilling about this for me is the recognition, of course, and I appreciate that, and the inclusion in this evening, and to be able to be up here to say how wonderful it is to be in a series that is just finishing its 4th year, and to go to work every day with a company, and the work gets better, and it is more and more fun, and that's a good thing. And thank you very, very much for this.
So exciting.
That was your first year?
That was my first.
And then you won
Golden
the next
Globe.
year.
Yes, I did.
Were you surprised?
I was, and yet there's a moment where you think they're going to say your name. The surprise is when they don't. You know, your fantasy.
Right, right.
And then they say this other name, and you think, that was Blythe Danner. That wasn't Linda Lavin. You think there's that moment when you know, of disbelief, and then when it is your name, I don't know how I get from the table up to the stage.
You don't even remember.
There's a euphoria that,
Right.
the energy carries you, but you're not in your body. Your mind isn't there.
And Alice, as I said, became a symbol of what I call the emerging American woman.
Yes, that's lovely.
Who could do it all. She could work, she could raise a child on her own, she could pursue her dreams.
Yes.
Were you aware that was happening?
Oh, yes,
You were.
absolutely. Yeah, I did a lot of research once we got picked up from the pilot, and I knew I was going to make a series of this show. I called Gloria Steinem. I asked her for some advice, some counsel on playing a working woman, a single mother, a woman who was in the 80% of all women who work in this country, who's still at the dead end, low end of the pay scale, because I wanted to do stories that reflected the truth about these women. And she helped me a lot.
And you actually were recognized by the National Commission on Working Women.
That's right.
You were honored with their Woman at Work Award.
Yes.
And we have a clip of that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Oh, sure.
What this feels like is a gift to me, and it reminds me that one of my first responsibilities when I took the role of Alice, and my first commitments, was that knowing how valuable, how powerful the medium of television is, that I had the responsibility, and that indeed we could reach out to those of you out there and say, hello, you're not alone. If I can do it, you can do it. I feel that responsibility more today for this. Thank you very, very much.
We're gonna go to break in just a second, but how did you find out about that, and how did you feel about being honored like that?
I got a phone call or a letter from the National Commission, a non-governmental commission, by the way, started in order to find out what the issues were in working women's lives, what they needed and what they were facing on a daily basis, so that the results of those commission's reports could then go to policymakers in government and say, look, these are real. We need to change the life for women, working women. We need to change situations here.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back and talk more with Linda. What happened after Alice? She won a Tony and did some more Broadway shows, nominated 3 other times. We'll come back and talk about that right after this. Stay with us.